Good afternoon, everyone. This is Alvin Williams with eBuilding Concepts, LLC, located here in Tampa, Florida. And today I'm just going to do a short video on basic workflow in Navisworks that I use to do my 2D takeoffs. Basically, a client has sent me a set of PDF plans, and they would like me to do a simple takeoff. There's concrete, the amount of concrete in the home, foundation, rebar, and things like that. But real quick, I'm gonna just do a short tutorial on what I go through just to figure out the slab footers and the slab material itself. So basically what took place before this point is the importing of the plan, which you kind of have to go through another program just to convert the PDF file into something that Navisworks utilizes. So once I've done that, then it's basically setting the scale of the plan. And the way I go about doing that is I basically go to my view here at the top and hit set scale and click on new measurement and choose a dimension on the plan. Hopefully what I typically like to use is the longest dimension possible to reduce the error. So I got 89 feet 8 inches. I basically, let's see, click on the end of the dimension here, drag a line across. Keep in mind it's 89 feet 8 inches. Type this in, 89.6. Now I could use 6.7. It doesn't matter. 6.7, 6.6. I mean, it gets you close enough for government work, I like to say. And that's the horizontal check. And now I'm going to do a vertical one, which I believe is 58 feet is the longest dimension here. So you could just snap one dimension, but what I like about Navisworks is that it'll average the horizontal and the vertical dimension to properly scale the plan, which theoretically is a no-no in doing takeoffs, because a lot of blueprints say do not scale the plan. How are we supposed to do this? I'm figuring if you can't do this by scaling the plan or whatever. But anyway, that's what the architects say to kind of get them out of trouble. If we improperly scale the plans, then it can cause headaches all down the road. So anyway, that's another story. I'm going to finish this off. Now, sometimes what it does after that, it'll flip the scale or flip the plan sideways. So I'll go up here and do is rotate the plan back to the way I want it, and just do a simple check just to make sure my measurements are what they say they are. So I'm going to measure this 22-foot dimension here from there to there just to make sure. Yep, 22.001. So that's close enough. All right. So what also took place that you did not see, and maybe I can set up a tutorial for that, showing how I go about doing that. Down at the bottom, you have the quantification book, you have the item catalog, and you have the resource catalog. So basically you plug in over here the resource catalog, the items that you'll be using in the quantifications book to do the takeoff. And just, there's a lot more to it than what I just said, but just to get this thing going here, I'm gonna start this off with so basically, real quick, I basically filled up the resource catalog with the items that I'll be using over here in the quantifications book. Here in the I'm sorry, in the items catalog here, I basically mark each one of the, for example, I'm doing the footer takeoff in the slab. So as you can see here, I'll start with this one here. I got this footer identified as MF24. So going to their footer schedule, says here MF24 footer is a type A footer. In other words, this type of footer right here, with three bars going the length of the footer, and then a bar going across the rebar. So, and I kind of done a lot of this ahead of time, but anyway, MF24 footer measures 24 inches wide by 20 inches deep. So if you go to my item catalog here, you will find the MF24 footer, and by expanding the tree, you'll see the items that I have in the MF24 footer, which are a number 5 rebar, 3000 psi concrete, triple chair, and the number 5 rebar 20 footers again. That's basically how I set up my resource catalog with 20-foot lengths of rebar, and then I determine how many pieces I need based on a formula. So I'll show you that here in a second, but yeah, so basically, like I said, MF24 footer has 3 number 5 rebar running the length of the footer, and then a number 5 rebar cut to the width of the footer, which the width is 24 inches, and that piece of rebar is to occur every 12 inches on center. So that's where the math calculation comes in, basically. So by clicking on this rebar here, it is going to show you what I did not expect there. Hang on a second here. And to bear with me in mind that I have all of the palettes condensed on one screen, and what I typically work on is a 3-monitor screen, because this is a lot of information to plug into, try to squeeze into one monitor. So I'm doing that for the sake of making this video. But okay, let me figure out what, okay, this, oh, okay, that's because this is so congested on the screen. But by clicking that number 5 rebar, it's going to show me further over here in the palette a formula that I use to calculate when I do my linear takeoff on the page up here at the top. What it's going to do when I stretch a line up here measuring my linear takeoff on the page, what it's going to do for that number 5 rebar is the formula that I see, that I plugged in here, is ceiling, and it's going to take the length. It's going to take the length of the linear measurement. Let's say, for example, 20 feet. If I measure a line on the plan of 20 feet, it's going to take that 20-foot length. It's going to multiply it times the number of rebar that are in the footer, which is 3. Remember, looking at up here. And then it's going, and then I have it dividing it by 17, which is the overlap of the rebar that's necessary when you join consecutive pieces of rebar together, you come up with a actual usage of 17 feet. So once all of that is tabulated, then what sealing does is that if, for example, if I measured a decimal point of 20, let's say 19.2, if you took that length 19.2, multiplied it times 3 and divided by 17, you come up with a decimal point. Well, sealing is going to round that number up because you always want things to round up. Then it's going to take that length of that amount of pieces, and then it's going to multiply it by 20. And what this is doing here is, because I got this formula plugged into the weight row here, I wanted to tabulate how much the material is going to weigh, for example, the rebar. So knowing that number 5 rebar weighs 1.043 pounds per lineal foot, so it's going to, and I'm dealing with 20-foot pieces, so this formula here is going to figure out how many 20-foot pieces I need. Then it's going to multiply that length or that amount by 20 feet, and then it's going to multiply it by 1.043 to give me the amount of weight in those pieces of rebar that are done in the takeoff. And then down below here, I needed to figure out the amount of rebar that I need. So basically that's that same formula there, minus the multiplying it by 20 and then multiplying it by the weight, obviously. So that gives me my quantity of rebar. So, and then that formula workflow basically works for all the other footers that are in this particular home that are set up to be a linear takeoff. Now, there's other footers here that are actual pads where instead of doing a linear takeoff, I'm then doing just a point or just a click type of takeoff, where I'm adding a dot, but that dot on the plan is going to represent a pad which already has calculated in its formula how much rebar, how much concrete, and whatever else that's necessary for that pad footer. So anyway, that's a quick rundown of how I set up the item catalog. Now, once you populate the item catalog, then you're going to go over here to the quantifications book, and this is basically the beginnings of doing the actual takeoff. So once for example, I'm working on footer I'm working on footer MF24. So I have the item catalog built up, I have the formulas tabulated like I want it to, and then I just look for the footers that I built in the item catalog right here, which is MF that's 16A. That's a different type of footer. Okay, here we go. Okay, so MF24, that's the footer that we need. Click it. Then go up here to the top of the quantifications. By clicking the polyline button here, you're telling it that you're doing a linear takeoff of that footer you just selected. So I'm going to click that, and let's do a takeoff. So this MF24 footer, I'm going to start right here at the corner, zoom in, and I'm going to zoom back out, and then I'm going to run it the length of the building here. Now keep in mind, this is already dimensioned here at 23 feet 8 inches. So I'm going to run my line to 23 feet 8 inches, and then I'm going to click right there. So now, just by simply placing a line on this plan down at the bottom, the formula that I showed you, it's figuring up how much concrete is in that linear takeoff. It's figuring up how much steel based on 20-foot lengths are in that linear takeoff. and anything else that I wanted to plug in there. But right now I just have rebar, number 5 rebar, and obviously concrete. So based on the dimensions let's go back here. Based on the dimensions of the footer being 24 inches wide and the depth being 20 inches. So if you were to do a quick calculation of that, which I'm doing right now, you can't see, but 24 inches times 20 inches give you an area surface of 480 square inches. Divide that by 144, give you your square footage. Now, the square footage of that footer is 3.333333 square feet. Now, let's multiply that by the length that we see here on the plan of 23 feet 8 inches. So let's multiply that 3.3333 times 23.66 equals. That gives you a total square footage of a total cubic footage of 78.8666 cubic feet of concrete in just that footer based on that linear takeoff. Now, later in other formulas, I have that cubic footage of concrete converted over into cubic yards because that's traditionally in the construction field. That's how people deal with cubic yards of concrete. So taking that 78.866 cubic feet of concrete, dividing it by 27, you come up with a cubic yard of 2.92 cubic yards of concrete. Now, if my calculations are right in my formulas, let's see if we can find that. Okay, so that is the item that just was created. That is the linear footage down to the decimal point of 23.673 feet. And let's see how, oh goodness, again, because of this screen being so tight, let's see if I can find my cubic yards of concrete. Now, I did round up, or I did ask my formula to round up with a percentage of waste, because there's always waste in construction. I got it rounded up to add about 5% waste onto the total. So actually, I came up with 2.92 cubic yards of concrete. If you multiply that number by 5%, I come up with 3.067 cubic yards of concrete. And as you can see here, based on the machine using decimals all the way out as far as I want, it comes up with 3.1 yards. So that's close enough for government work. Like I said, it's estimating. It's not exact. It's not exactimating. It's estimating. So if we get a construction worker out there that unfortunately digs a foot or two deep, you're going to use up more yards of concrete than you were originally estimated to use. So there's no way of controlling that in the estimating world, other than making sure the guys do what they're supposed to do out in the field. So anyway, that's a quick rundown of the workflow of when I do a linear takeoff on my plans, and I'll just quickly continue just to show you how quick this can be. MF24, I'm going to continue on with that takeoff here. MF24 seems to stop right there. Okay, MF24 again picks up right there. Now I realize by doing the corners like I'm doing, I'm kind of overlapping material, but it gets eaten up. It gets eaten up. Like I said, you get people that unfortunately dig footers too deep or something screws up, but it works out for the most part. MF24 continues on this way. MF24. Is it? Yep, MF24. 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 All the way down here. MF24. 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 MF24, all the way back. Bam. So the entire perimeter of this home foundation has just been taken off. And if I go to the, let me click here. I'm going to see just how much concrete I just created by snapping the line around the entire foundation. And as you can see there, just with that 1 footer, I have a total of 48.262 yards of concrete. So simple as that. So anyway, that's a quick rundown of workflow for me to do a takeoff of the footers in a home. So please comment, give me your suggestions or ideas, and I look forward to making more videos if you guys would be interested in seeing more about how I go about setting up my catalogs for other items, in particular like framing. I know a lot of people wish there were an easier way to figure out how much lumber goes into framing a home. So I have pretty neat ways of figuring all that out as well. So hope you enjoyed it. Like it, subscribe, whatever, dislike it, but it's all good. All right. Thank you for watching and have a good day.